All right, Dr. Mike, we are live, and let's first start off with a real exciting announcement. Something that you worked on and initiated over the weekend, and it's good to go. And go for it, Mike.
So we, as you know, we were two-thirds of the Beyond Your Wildest Dreams team, along with our partner up in Canada, Wanda Lee McPhee. And we asked her if she would mind if we use the YouTube platform to share these videos with you guys, as there's already existing geez, almost 1,000 subscribers on that channel, and she was really happy to hear that we would be going forward with some version of this. So if you can't catch us, and we do, Noah and I do a really good job of sharing it, but these will all be obviously on our Facebook page, but they'll also be on our YouTube channel. I like to call it Health Coaching Academy TV. I think it's got a nice ring to it, but that's where it'll be living as well. So
Yeah,
we're
so
excited.
so all of our podcast interviews that we did with BYWG are there, and there's some stellar interviews with unbelievable people.
Yep.
From oh gosh, John
Mark,
Butcher,
John Butcher, Mark
Mark's.
Sisson, Zach Bush,
Oh,
Julia Cairns. There is just Rob Wolf, multiples with Rob Wolf. But there's some tremendous, tremendous interviews. You really should, you owe it to yourself, take a look at it.
yep, and then there's a bunch of shorter ones that we did together with me, you, and Wanda Lee. And then
Yep.
now, every time we do one of these short 5 to 10 minute videos, they're going to be there too. So it'll be just a great resource for you guys
Yep.
to check out and look. So last week we mentioned that we're going to talk about 3 topics in consecutive weekends
Right.
that are like the hot topics. The first thing we
Right.
talked about last week was, oh my god, it just slipped my mind. Oh, we talked about linoleic acid, omega 6s, and how dangerous
Yep.
they are.
Right.
And then we mentioned this week we're going to talk about salt and electrolytes. And then next week we're going to talk about what's the third thing we're going to talk about next week? Oh, it's high protein diets,
Yep.
which are making it an important uh, resurgence, I guess to say. But let's
Yep.
get into salt, Mike. We talked a little bit about this on our lecture on last Wednesday night. Uh, there's been misconceptions on salt, that salt is dangerous, that you should reduce your salt intake. And of course, there are certain circumstances where you should reduce your salt, particularly salt from processed foods, boxed foods, poor, poorly processed iodized salt. But in reality, and in most cases, adding salt into your diet, particularly if you want to sleep better, particularly if you are an athlete, is a really good idea. And whether it's Celtic salt, Himalayan salt, it's a really good idea.
And the reason behind adding the salt is we are, I don't remember what the exact number is, but a large percentage of the population is walking around dehydrated. And here in basically in these winter months, especially here in the Northeast, Northwest, Midwest, it is cold, and people are like, well, how can I get dehydrated in the winter? And it's actually just as easy. It is literally osmosis, where the atmosphere is very dry, where in the summer it's very humid, but it's very dry, and it literally pulls the moisture right out of your skin. So it is really super easy to get dehydrated. Now, one of the tricks that we talk about, one of the tips that we talk about, is putting a humidifier in your bedroom at night. You're sleeping in there 6 to 8 hours. Put that in there. Start that in October and all the way through into the spring. It doesn't need to be super fancy, just a water reservoir and a fan type of humidifier on top of it. You got to clean it regularly. But that is, the first step in addressing the dehydration. So go ahead and you take a little bit more of the salt part of it.
Yeah. So, how do you add more salt? Well, the simple thing is to your your whole foods diet, just sprinkle more salt on.
Right.
Another way is called Sol or Sole water, SOLE. It's where you super saturate water with sea salt or Celtic salt. And
Mhm.
then you take like a teaspoon of that, put it in a full glass of water, and drink that, kind of first thing every morning.
Right.
And the third way that we like and that we've been using for a long
Right.
time, which is much more than salt, it's more
Right.
of an electrolyte drink that has
Yeah.
magnesium and potassium in it, is the LMNT product, element product created by Rob Wolf and a couple of his partners. And they got multiple flavors. There's no sugar, there's citrus, and there's lime or lemon, and there's watermelon, and then there's chocolate, and there's neutral flavor. But we use it regularly, anywhere from 1 to 2
Yeah.
packets a day, and I would say we
Yeah.
use it very successfully.
Yeah. That is, there we go. That is the element. Let's get that right there. So that I use every single day in a cup of coffee in the morning. There are many days where I am out walking and get between 8 to 10 miles of walking that I'll do, and that's in addition to working out twice a week and then sprinting once a week or so. But I'll use a second element, usually citrus, because I like that with water. That's a good flavor for me. There are many different flavors. There's some seasonal flavors. Mint chocolate was one. Um, Watermelon or grapefruit were the other ones during the summer. So it's really, really tasty. It has zero sugar as opposed to the popular store-bought version that you all know, the one where they dump it on the coach's head, that one. Um, but it really is remarkable. I notice it immediately in the morning upon drinking it with coffee.
Yep. My son uses that product. Your daughter uses a little bit of a different product, but they're
Yeah,
both athletes. My younger son uses another product, but it's all electrolytes and salt because they want to perform at a great level. And
yeah,
speaking of Hayden, I sent this post to him um, out about a month ago, and it was on Instagram. It was from Dr. James D. Nicolatonio, and he wrote the book Salt Fix. And in that post, he listed all of the positives of salt. And I have to read them. So
sure.
pardon me for looking down, but
That's
it's so
cool.
many of them.
Good
So
stuff.
it prevents muscle cramps, improves hydration, decreases heart rate, increases power output, decreases percent exertion, increases endurance, increases cardiac output, decreases blood volume drop, decreases core body temperature, and replaces lost electrolytes. That sounds pretty darn good, doesn't it?
Amazing, amazing. You have is that a hard copy or do you have an actual
No,
link?
it was an Instagram post that I would say
Okay.
go back. Well, I'll get it.
Yeah.
Somehow we'll get it to you. But it
Yeah.
was an Instagram post and it was a pictorial, but it was really, really good.
Cool. Because YouTube now allows you to do posts, so you could actually do a post in YouTube now, just a written post. So we can do that as well, which is awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, that's
But
new.
so we have to talk about that, Mike. But so
Yeah.
salt is a really important idea. Uh,
Yeah.
it's a really
Absolutely.
important concept not to get bogged down by years and years and years of us telling that salt is dangerous. Now, of course,
Correct.
excessive salt can be,
Right.
but its benefits, like many other things, far outweigh its negatives, particularly in a whole foods based diet, and
Yeah.
particularly someone who works out a lot.
Yeah, the salt or sodium that's found in fast foods, there's no joking about that. That is really detrimental to your health. But we're talking about electrolyte replacement and the actual salt that you need to function during the day, and that's completely different. And as we've said before, it's balanced. There's sodium, there's potassium, there's magnesium. It's a nice balance. So I've been using it for a couple of years. I'm actually um, an investor in the company. I think it's a great product,
You
and
know,
there are many different products out there.
yeah, Noom is one, right?
Yeah, Noom. Emma uses Noom. Yep.
Kellen uses something called Accelerate and Hydrate from, I don't even remember the company's name, but I have cases of it in my basement.
Right.
Um, but it's important. I just had something that slipped right out of my mind. But just when you think of salt, don't think of it negatively. Think of
Right.
it as something that can really, really, really benefit you and move your health in a positive direction.
100%.
All right, guys. Next week we talk about higher protein diets, and check us out on YouTube.
Bye, guys.